This is Tony Stewart celebrating in victory lane after winning the 2009 All-Star race. Confetti, champagne, top of the world of NASCAR Sprint Cup racing. It's yet another win for the 38-year-old nicknamed Smoke, but the smile is as wide and the emotion is as deep as when Stewart won his first race in 1999.
Some of the guys had tears in their eyes. I mean, it was just an unbelievable feeling to know that this was something that we were a part of putting together.
We spoke to him 48 hours before the big win.
So what's it like to be part of a Super Bowl every weekend?
It's awesome. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what venue we go to.
When Tony Stewart, the fiery two-time Sprint Cup champion who has driven a car on almost every competitive circuit in America, isn't racing 180 miles per hour around a track, he's Tony Stewart, the businessman, and he's just as competitive off the track. For years, he's owned racetracks, open-wheel teams, and a remote control car outfit, even counting a public relations firm and a food company among his 13 businesses.
So what is it about the world of business that appeals to you?
Well, you know, I don't know that we specifically went out to be a businessman. It just has transformed into that.
Stewart's business cards now include the title of Sprint Cup team owner. That separates him from most of the drivers on the 43-man circuit. The majority sign contracts to work for racing teams owned by entrepreneurs, including Stewart's former employer, Joe Gibbs, the ex-football coach who owns Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, Stewart just doesn't cash the checks, he writes them. So how did he get here? After 10 years of racing for Gibbs, Stewart negotiates a release from the last year of his contract with the team. That lets him join Haas CNC Racing for the 2009 season. The deal? Stewart puts in no cash, but gets a 50% stake in the Haas team. He brings a champion's know-how and gives an also-ran team, no wins in 7 years, an instant credibility boost.
And there's not very many team owners that are willing to give you half of their company and you know, let you run with the ball, so to speak. There's no way that in this time frame that we would have tried to start from scratch and do it on our own.
As the 2009 season begins, Stewart prepares for a fresh start as driver-owner. The new logos are ready, the shop in Huntersville, North Carolina is set, and Stewart hires driver Ryan Newman to drive for his team.
There was a lot of doubt, obviously, when we started this, but you know, the thing that I've made a very high priority is that when I get to the racetrack Thursday night, the night before we start practice, I take that owner hat off and I stick to the driver role.
Following that philosophy helped Stewart. 14 races into the season, Stewart becomes the first driver-owner to lead the points race since 1992, a span of 556 races. It's Saturday night at Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina, and all-star fever is in the air. NASCAR's top 21 drivers compete in this 100-lap exhibition. The winner takes home $1 million, which is the money equivalent of winning 5 races. Fireworks fly. Tony's crew does last-minute checks, and it's green flag ahead. Stewart starts the race in the 15th position, but as the laps wear on, the number 14 Office Depot car starts to make the move up the board, thanks in part to some good adjustments made on the car by the pit crew. Then comes the luck. Pole sitter Jimmy Johnson drops out of contention, and Jeff Gordon spins out. With 5 laps to go, Stewart moves into 3rd place behind Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, then past Busch into 2nd place. Smoke is right where he wants to be. Stewart would never be in this position if he didn't employ a time-tested formula, delegating authority and believing in role players, like this man, Brett Frood.
He has been my lottery ticket, so to speak, since he started working with us, and he's been responsible for the growth of all my companies. You know, without Brett, I wouldn't have the corporations that we have.
Frood played lacrosse at Brown, graduated Harvard Business School, and worked on Wall Street.
There's 2 objectives, whether we're building widgets or we're racing, and it's putting a product out there that beats your competitors, and it's building a sustainable business that can be profitable.
The other key cogs, crew chief Darian Grubb, came from Hendrick Motorsports. Industry veteran Bobby Hutchins was plucked from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated to be the director of competition for Stewart Haas. Since profitability is tougher these days, Hutchins' job is to figure out just how much budgets can be cut without impacting the chance to get into victory lane.
We've tried to take everything in here from a nut or a bolt or a washer and try to, do the diligence on it and make sure that we're not overpaying for it.
Stewart's past success in the sport made it easier to land primary sponsors, the companies that pay most of the freight.
White flag is in the air for Tony Stewart.
Stewart left his familiar orange and white of Home Depot and signed on with Office Depot, which agreed to pay to be the primary sponsor on 60% of the races. Old Spice took the rest of his schedule. The split is indicative of the new NASCAR, where companies share a driver in the name of savings. That's just fine for Stewart. The bottom line is the same. The two companies pay Stewart Haas about $20 million combined for the rights. For Office Depot, which previously sponsored Carl Edwards' car, Stewart wasn't just any old driver. His entrepreneurial spirit appealed to them.
Here is a successful, proven driver, a two-time champion, leaving a great, well-funded owner to go off on his own. And that's sort of the American success story, isn't it? And that's what our customers are all about. They're these small businesses out there who risk their own capital every single day.
In Stewart, Office Depot also gets one of NASCAR's most popular and quirky drivers. CEO Steve Odland saw that firsthand during the most important race of the year, the Daytona 500.
So tell me about Tony's personality.
Biggest race of the season. He's a new owner. And I was listening to the in-car chatter during the race, and all of a sudden, Tony starts singing.
Ole, 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 ole. Yeah, there's everything else to do.
But it's all not a breeze. Unlike his old days, as an owner, Stewart is now paying much closer attention to his bottom line. Factoring in the trailer, the car, the per diem for the crew of 21, each race costs about $600,000 per car. Total budget per car per year, about $30 million. And profitability only comes with winning. With that in mind, how about that $1 million to win the All-Star race? Stewart's not thinking about it now. 3 laps to go, and it's neck and neck with Matt Kenseth until Stewart makes his move for the checkered flag.
Tony Stewart makes $1 million.
This isn't just one good Saturday night in May. His entire rookie season as driver-owner has been an amazing Cinderella run. 3 weeks after winning the exhibition All-Star race, we caught up with Stewart before the Pocono 500. Forced to use a backup car and start in the last position after crashing his car in practice, Stewart told us he wasn't worried. This was the scene 7 hours later. Yep, that's Stewart in victory lane again. The off-the-track stats are just as impressive. Forbes now believes the Stewart Haas team is worth $80 million. That's a 96% increase from the previous season, and good for the 8th most valuable team in the entire sport. But that's to think about on Mondays.
It's nice just to kind of divide the odds, I guess, to a certain degree, and have done something that people said should have been a train wreck this year.
This orange guy right here, his name is Tony Stewart, which I had to find a way to dye him red now.
We're going to have attendance, drop a little bit, or the ratings drop a little bit, but like anyone, if we can get through the lean times, make our sport the best it can be, we'll prevail.